this is what a period cup looks like. Yes, this has been up into my vagina. So, hey. Try to twist it up in, and then I try to suck it back up into my body. This is so much information. Dad, if you're watching this, please stop. So today's video shouldn't be a taboo topic. It's something that many of us go through. If you have a period, we should be able to freely talk about that. And I do, so I want to. Samantha Ravndahl has made many great videos on menstrual cups. I will definitely link her. I'll try to link her up here if I can and down in the description of this video as well. Answers many of these questions, and she's actually the main reason that I decided to try a menstrual cup, which we're going to be talking about it all today. I want to give fair warning that this video is going to be graphic in nature, not in visual nature, but in descriptive nature. There are going to be things that if you are uncomfortable with bodily functions or bodily fluid speak, this will have much of that. So as long as you now have the disclaimer, maybe it won't be so jarring to hear about. If you guys are interested in this makeup look, by the way, like if you're like, where's that? I'll try to link it up here. It should have gone up before this video. Sam's videos really cover many of the questions, but the thing is that each individual person has an individual experience, and I think the more people that talk about this, the more likely it is that maybe somebody on a different platform or elsewhere, maybe you're not a viewer of Sam, or maybe you're not a viewer of mine, but maybe somebody has questions and they want the answers. So I'm gonna give you guys my rundown. I've been using now a menstrual cup for about, I think I'm on my 6th month. I have a lot to say about these little things. And I asked you guys on Twitter if you had any questions, and there are 784 questions. So I'm gonna go over as many questions as I can. I'm gonna answer all the nitty-gritty. This is going to get graphic, but it's important because for me, I will tell you that I have been interested in trying one of these for many years, and I was too afraid. I thought, I'm not the bitch. I'm not the one. It's not gonna work for me. Tampons are fine. They suck, but they're fine. I thought I was fine. As soon as I tried one of these, the first month I was a little iffy, hooked. And I think that you could be too if you just kind of know what to expect. I think a lot of people go into it afraid. There's really nothing to be afraid of. There are pros and there are cons. I am gonna say there's far more pros than there are cons, but the cons are really there, and I think it's just something that we can talk about. So if you guys are excited for this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I mostly do makeup content, but at times we're gonna get real like this, so strap in. I have used pads, tampons. I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, so for many years, I did not have a regular period. And then I lost a bunch of weight on keto, which I'll also link a video up here if you're interested in hearing more about that. And my periods returned, and they returned very normally every 28 days, pretty much on the dot, which is amazing because for many years of my life, I was only having 1 to 2 periods a year. When I get them, or at least before, they were extremely heavy. I get terrible cramps. They're mostly in my lower back. They're absolutely hideous. I turn into a shell of myself during my period. I think most of us can relate to that. I don't know what your level of, flow is for your period. I hate the words associated. They're just hard to say. We're gonna say them. But for me, I can tell you that I range from, I would say, normal to at times very heavy. Day 1 is the absolute worst for me cramp wise, and then it kind of eases up on me for cramps. But as far as all the rest of it goes, I would say I'm on the heavier side. I used pads for many years because tampons make my cramps so much worse. I don't know why. It's just having something in there makes my cramps so much worse. And so I would always try, if I could, to not use tampons because I just didn't like it. I'm also very afraid of toxic shock syndrome. My sister's friend in high school got toxic shock syndrome. I also watched a terribly sad documentary about this guy who got toxic shock syndrome. It was so terrible. So I, being the person with anxiety and not dealing with health issues well, scared the shit out of me. So I would be an avid tampon changer. I'm one of those people that put one in and then like 3 hours later, the new one, the new one, and it's not even even full, but I'm always so worried that I'm going to get ill from them that I am an overchanger. And I didn't like that because I don't like the impact that it has negatively on the environment, on my wallet, because you're having to buy tampons. You're literally buying things to essentially throw them away. They are helpful, but I don't know. I don't like all the packaging, and then I would try to go with the cardboard ones, but I just didn't feel like I liked them as much. So when Sam talked to me about this, she was like, Kristi, you just gotta to try it. And I was like, bitch, all right, fine. I finally went in and tried these out. And from having tried pads, from having tried tampons, I'm no stranger to my body. Some people are really squeamish when it comes to stuff like that. I will tell you, I'll discuss this at length in a moment. And when I'm answering your questions, this is probably going to be a long video. But if you are squeamish, this may not be for you. I'm not going to be one of those people that's like, everyone in the world this is going to work for, because there's different types of people out there. But for me, I like it because I'm not at all squeamish with my bodily fluids. Nothing's off limit. Like, I know myself so well and I'm so comfortable with my body. Like, I'm just one of those people that, like, I've seen it all and it comes from me. So while shit is gross, it's from me. So it's not that big a deal. It's me touching me, you know? While it is just a little cup that holds your blood, it's so much more than that. I use the Salt Soft Cup. Now, there are a bunch of different kinds. There's Diva Cup, there's Salt, there's the Salt Regular, Salt Soft, there's Flex Cup. This is the first one I ever bought and I love it. I have no complaints with it at all. It's been great for me. And I got the soft variety because Samantha did say that she had tried the Salt Regular. I think she said it felt a little firm. So when I saw that there was a soft, I got it. So this is what a period cup looks like. Yes, this has been up into my vagina. So hey. I want you to know that it doesn't come sparkly. We took a bath last night. Everything in the bathroom is covered in sparkles from our bath bomb. So the sparkles you see on this cup are not normal. They are from this bath bomb that is haunting me. My husband is completely sparkly. His hair, we've taken showers. I have makeup on. You can still see the sparkles through the makeup. I don't know what to do. There's sparkles everywhere. So this is what it looks like here. It is this size. It is foldable. It's made out of like a silicone. I'm not going to talk about inserting it right now. I'm going to get into that in a little bit because I feel like all the questions that people have about it come before that, because like inserting it is just one part of it. Everything else is kind of like more. How do you figure out which size you need? So the size is going to depend on you specifically. The sizes are mentioned on the product itself. So like for this was like a beginner or small or something like that. And it says like if you haven't had children. And then there's ones for if you have had children because things stretch and the like cervix changes, etc. So just go off of the specifications that you would see from the manufacturer of the cup. And I found that at least for me, it's accurate. Someone says, the pouring out and cleaning seems gross to me. How do you get over that? So this is something that I want to touch on probably the most, because this is the top comment of people being like, I just can't get over how gross it is. And I thought the same. And I can tell you, again, being somebody that's very comfortable with my bodily fluids, it is gross. Some people are like, you shouldn't get blood anywhere. I don't know how you would never get blood on you. Let's just get graphic with it. So you're sitting down, it's been in all day, you reach up there, you break the suction, your hand is fully up there. I mean, your fingers are fully up in there. You break the suction, you pull it out, you empty it, which we're gonna get into all this specifics in a moment. Yes, there is blood all over it, and it at times gets on your hands. I'm constantly washing it. I would say that like you have to determine if that ick factor is too much for you. This isn't me trying to say not to do it. In fact, I think everyone should try these if you have the capability with your funds, or if you feel like it's something that you want to do. Some people, it's just not for them. If you are interested in it, I think that I'm going to try to hopefully open up and remove any of the stigma that you feel towards it. But yeah, it's a lot. Someone says, how does it feel compared to a tampon? So I would say, for me personally, I cannot feel this if I place it in correctly. If I insert it and I've done it wrong, I can feel it, and that's when you know that you've done it wrong. It's like a tampon. You know when you insert a tampon and you like don't put it in far enough, you can feel it. It's the same with this. I would say this is much more comfortable. I honestly forget that I have this. There's no string hanging out of you or anything like that. For me, I did cut the little end tab of this down a little bit because it was probably like this long, and I just felt that it was just too long for me. I didn't need it. So you can kind of do that as well if you want. But I personally feel like I can't feel it if it's inserted correctly at all. I have limited range of motion and really struggle getting a tampon in and out. How does putting a cup in compare? I would say you may struggle, because for me, I need to like really squat and really get up in there. Like, it's not at all the same as like pulling a tampon and just inserting it as I'm sitting on the toilet. I'm just speaking from personal experience. I kind of have to like get into a position. Once it's in, and that's why this is so amazing to have, because I'm going to tell you the biggest benefit of the cup and the biggest question that I get asked, which is a non-issue for me, at least in the 6 months that I've had this thing. So one of the biggest questions that I have asked in here is, what do I do if I need to change it while I'm in public, in a public restroom? The difference with a period cup and tampons, let's say, is that tampons you have to change all the time because they're not meant to be left in for a very long time. Period cups can be left in for up to 12 hours. And now this, I was so skeptical on myself because I was such an avid tampon changer that I thought there is no way that I'm going to leave this thing in for 12 hours. I'm going to get toxic shock syndrome and I'm going to die. From what I understand, and you should do your own research on this because I am just a YouTuber and I am a makeup YouTuber at that, but I am also somebody who gets her period and wants to talk about this. From what I have read, the risk of toxic shock syndrome is far lower with a menstrual cup, because what happens is when you are removing a tampon, because it is dry cotton and it does touch the inside of your vagina, when you pull it out, those can cause micro tears. And when old blood sits up against that, that's when it can get into your system and cause that blood infection, if I am correct. Now the difference is when you insert a period cup, so like here's my vagina, let's say, and you put this in and it sits right here and your cervix is up here and it goes into the cup. This is a soft silicone. The blood goes in here and it's not sitting against the walls of your vagina. There's no micro tears because this is soft. So when you're removing it and putting it in, it's just a safer thing, and you can leave these in longer because they do hold more. Now this looks small, but it can hold a lot. I have never had it full all the way to the top. You think it will. The fullest I've ever had it is probably here-ish, and that was after like a full 12-hour day. Another thing I thought is, and this is going to be graphic for some of you, but I was like, the blood's going to be sloshing around in there, and if I lay down, it's going to be falling back into my vagina and it's going to be sloshing around. Blood coagulates. It's not something I thought about. It's not something I want to think about, but it coagulates. Disgusting, I know, but it does. And it does in here too. And that is what I think people will maybe struggle with the most, is the consistency of the blood. Now mine just may be different, but it's not runny, okay? It's kind of snotty. It's disgusting, but that's what blood does. I'm gonna get to that in a moment, but because you can leave this thing in for 12 hours, unless you're on a work shift for like 16 hours or something, you usually, in most circumstances, should not need to change this in public. Because like if you're going to Target, if you're going to an event or something, unless the event is 12 plus hours long, you should change it before and then be able to change it after. And I have had zero issue with that whatsoever. In fact, I forget I'm wearing it because it's that comfortable, and it's peace of mind too. And I think that's the biggest thing that I like about having these menstrual cups, is how infrequently I need to change it. Before, I felt like I needed to tailor my schedule around tampons. Now I have one thing that I've purchased. It'll last me 10 plus years if I treat it well. And I don't have to bring anything else with me. When I've gone on trips, I bring this thing with me. You know that you have it there. You hardly have to change it. There's nothing you need to throw away. I mean, you have to have at least a water source handy to rinse the thing out, but that's it. It's that simple, and it is so nice to have that peace of mind that I have one thing I have to bring with me. I only have to change it as necessary, which is once every 12 hours is what I do. Perfectly great the entire time. I don't have to constantly have 8 tampons with me at all times. It's so nice to not have to worry about that ever again. I've never had to change it in public. I've never had to change it anywhere where it was like awkward or uncomfortable for me at all. If you suffer from really heavy flow, is it likely to prevent you from using them? So I would say I have a heavy flow and I'm not anti-using them at all. I do get very bad cramps on my first day of my period, so I'll tell you what I've been doing. So generally what I would do with my first day anyway, because my cramps are only on that first day, I avoid having anything up in there, because anything in that region causes me hideous cramps. Now, if I need to put a period cup in, it really doesn't make it that bad. Tampons, on the other hand, I don't know why, but they cause me severe cramps to the point where I could not wear them on day one. I had to just use a pad or go to the bathroom all the time because it was so terribly uncomfortable that I would be in the fetal position just like crying. So with these, I haven't had much of an issue. I find that I have way less cramps with these, and I don't know why. It's bigger around, but maybe it's because it's soft and it conforms to the shape of my body. It just doesn't feel like some weird foreign object in there. I don't have any issues with it. How difficult is it to change, and what brand is the most recommended? Also, can it leak? So I'm going to tell you how I put it in and how I find how difficult it is and everything like that, and some tricks that I've personally learned. There are a couple different folding methods because you do need to fold it. You can't just put it in like this. It's not going in like that. It will just be all over the place. Some people choose to fold it like this. They'll fold it in, and then that makes the tip of it as small as can be in a way. And then once it goes in, it pops open, which we're going to talk about that pop open in a moment, because that... Okay, I personally do not like this fold. I tried this for the first 2 months because I think this is the one Sam prefers. For me, this is covered in cat hair because I'm just sitting here talking. Sam, I think, prefers this fold. I can't recall what this is called. I'll try to link like a bunch of things that are helpful in the description of this video. I don't personally like that one. It doesn't ever unfold for me. It just kind of stays like this up in there. What I personally do is this fold. It's just like regular. Nothing's down in, nothing's odd. And then when it goes in, it just boops right open. So I'm gonna explain real quick how I personally get it in. And then I'm gonna explain some ways that I get it to fit right, because you can definitely get a wrong fit. So for me, I fold it like that and I put my leg up on the toilet. I kind of squat down with the other leg and I shove it up as far as I can. Again, if you don't get it in far enough, that's where I find the problem with leakage, or I can feel it. It feels pokey. It's not hideous. It's just kind of pokey. I don't know. I don't like it. Shove it up in there, and I'm kind of in that squatty position with my leg up on the toilet, and I'm really getting in there. And then when I get it up as far as I can, you got to be really comfortable with your body, by the way. You really have to be, because you're going to have your shit all up in there. Like, fingers are going to be all up, and it's a thing. Once it's up in there, I find that mine sort of wants to stay crimped like that. You want it to fully be open, because if it's crimped like this, it can pop open later, and that's an experience I don't want any of you to ever experience. But if you've ever experienced it, you know, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Second of all, sometimes some blood can get past and you can get a leak. So what I tend to do is I kind of ring my finger around the seal so that I can see if it's all opened or not. And you'll know, because you'll get to one side if it's not fully open, and you'll be like, okay, it's a circle, and then you'll get to here and you can feel that there's a dip down. And generally what I try to do is turn the bottom of it, so like grab onto the bottom of it and turn it. But another thing that I find helpful in getting it in the right position, TMI for a lot of people, is doing like Kegels. So like flexing and like unflexing down there, because it almost like pulls it into the right position. My God, we are getting to know each other today. You know a lot about me. I don't know a lot about you. So this is a really, really one-sided relationship that I don't really appreciate. So let me know in the comments some things, okay? You need to know that this is okay for YouTube. When I do that motion, if I do some like Kegels stretches or like pushing, like bearing down almost and then pulling back, you know what I'm talking about? You know, you're probably doing it right now. That really helps to position it for me. The thing is at times, and this has happened to me maybe like 4 or 5 times, and it's jarring, let me tell you. It's what in the menstrual cup community they call the vagina bitch slap. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you are so lucky. But basically, part of the wall of the period cup doesn't go like that. You don't know it because you think it's doing its work up there. You think it's in the right position. Everything's gravy, baby, right? Well, it's not gravy, because you'll just be sitting there and it goes boop on your insides, and what that boop feels like up there is like somebody is flicking the side of your vagina, but you weren't ready or prepared in any way, shape, or form. Heaven help me if it isn't one of the most jarring moments. It is, pain isn't even the word, because it doesn't so much hurt as I mean, it's uncomfortable, but it's jarring. It feels like, oh, what just happened? A rubber band snap. It's like elastic on your underwear snaps out of nowhere. That's what it feels like, but in your vagina. It can happen. It's a thing. It's happened to me like 4 or 5 times. It's kind of a fear now. It's not that bad. It's just a little bit like, holy shit, what just happened? And then you get over it after a moment or two of breathing out loud and having to tell your husband about it and having him go, okay, I don't really want to know about this. And I'm like, I don't care. You're part of this family now, so get used to it. I am really a freak about getting mine like extra clean. So I like to wash mine off every time, even if it's been washed and it's put away in its nice little cute baggie that it comes with. I like to rinse mine off really good before the first use with hot water. I like to do that because first of all, it makes it a little bit more pliable, and nobody wants to put anything cold up there. It's like going to the gynecologist and uses those little things on you and it's just uncomfortable. Nobody wants to be uncomfortable down there, and cold is uncomfortable. I use some hot water, get this thing warm, shove it in. Once it's in and it's in the right position, you're good to go. You've got 12 hours. You don't have to think about your period again. You won't think about it again because you can literally not feel it. You're just living your best life. At times, I've gotten very, very little leakage. And again, that is when I have it incorrectly in. And you can tell. You can tell. You'll know. You'll know if you have it in wrong. It's just like obvious. But sometimes you'll notice like a little bit of leakage. I've never had, for myself personally, a time where it's so incorrectly position that I'm like bleeding. It's just like a little pink tinge when I go to the bathroom, and then I just kind of, you know, do a little Kegel action or like try to reposition it if I can. But if not, it's never been a problem for me personally. You've been wearing it for 12 hours and it's time to take it out. Here's the part where you need to be fully secure with yourself as a person. You need to be fully secure with seeing blood and having it be coagulated blood. It's a different situation. Frank blood, the red runny blood, for me, easier to deal with. Not so bad. Coagulated blood is disgusting. If you've ever seen it, you know. It's the consistency of jelly, and it's not bright red, and it's not easily dumped. That's something that I have not really seen many people or heard many people talking about in these menstrual cup videos. People are like, you just empty it, rinse it, and put it back in. And I'm like, simple. And then when I saw it for the first time, I was like, get the fuck out of the cup, get out. So what I do is you reach up there with a finger and you break the seal. You want to break the seal because if you just pull this, I've heard of somebody pulling out their IUD because the suction is so strong. It comes out with it. So you're going to want to break the suction, break it like that. Yes, your finger is up in your vagina, and yes, it's up there. You break that, you'll hear a sound. Beautiful. Another reason you probably don't want to change it in public if you can avoid it. And then I just sort of pull it out. Will there be blood on your hands? Depends on how heavy your flow is. Depends on how good you are at getting it out. But yeah, there's usually been remnants. And so you break the suction, pull it out, and then at that point, hilarity ensues. And by hilarity, I mean dealing with a blood cup. So you dump it out in the toilet as best you can, and then you kind of go like this with it because, you know, things are like kind of stringy and icky. It's kind of gross, at least for me. I don't know. Maybe things are different for other people. If that is the case for you, don't judge me. Shit happens. Bodies are the way that they are. I don't know. Preferably you're sitting next to a sink in the bathroom, but most people are likely going to have to get up and walk to the sink. I have a bathroom downstairs where the toilet's right here and literally the sink is right here. So I just turn the sink on, reach over, rinse it out, do all my cleaning up of myself, and put it back in. If it's up here in this bathroom, I have to walk across the bathroom. So then what you do, clean yourself up as best you can, get some toilet paper, walk it over to the sink, rinse it out, get it all good to go, walk back to the toilet, insert it, and you're good to go. Not nearly as clean, cut and dry as a tampon. However, the benefits far outweigh, for me, the hideousness of changing a cup. It's not that bad. I'm making it sound really bad. Again, if you're comfortable with your body, you're comfortable with your anatomy, and you're comfortable with bodily fluids, you're gonna be fine. If you're squeamish with blood, you probably won't be. It's gross. It's not this perfectly clean process, and it depends on how heavy your flow is. Some people may tell you, oh my God, you will not get any blood on you at all. Maybe those people aren't me. Maybe those people do not bleed gallons, but I do. So I don't have that experience, and I don't know. So how I do it is I wake up in the morning, change it, fresh, get it all good, go about my day, which is usually I'm awake for about 12 hours anyway, right before I go to bed, change it again, get all fresh and good, cycle repeats in the morning. On that final day, you'll notice when the cup is basically empty when you've changed it, that's the time that like I'm just kind of spotting and I leave it out. I just kind of like will allow myself to spot, like not free bleed, but I guess I am because I don't use any sort of products. Since I've started using this, I have never used any tampons, pads, panty liners, anything like that. It's been incredible. I love it so much, and I urge you, if you are interested, I think Salt Soft is awesome, and Salt's customer service is amazing. Also, their branding is really beautiful, and the little baggie that you carry it in, I really like it. Someone says, does it move around a lot? Like if you work a very physical job, can you squat, bend, stretch without worrying about it bending, coming out, or leaking? Absolutely. Once it's in and it's in correctly, you can do cartwheels. You're fine. It's not going anywhere. It's literally so in there. It's way far up. Getting the right position may be difficult for the first few months, but I would say if you can, try to stick it through. I know it can be frustrating at times, especially if you can feel it, and we all have different shapes down there, all different sizes down there. But you know, that's the thing, is it may take you a bit to find your perfect cup. For me, it took one try. I really, really enjoy this one and I have no issues with it. But once it's in and it's in correctly, at least in my experience, you can move perfectly fine. There is no issues. You can't feel it. It's perfect, like literally perfect. Someone said, I tried one for a few months and I didn't like it. It seemed messier when you empty it and cleaning it was a hassle. I want to like it though. Help. And the thing is that I think it's routine. You need to find the right routine that works for you. For me, I would rather have the hassle of a period cup and getting possibly blood on my hands and having to empty it out and clean it than ever have to go buy tampons again. I mean, it's $0. Once you buy this thing, which I think was like 30 something dollars, maybe 40, I'm not sure. That's it. You purchase it and you're done. You don't have to go buy tampons, pads, any of that anymore. It's basically so inexpensive. It pays for itself in like 2 months of a period. The convenience of how little I need to change it, the peace of mind that I get having it, how I can't feel it, my cramps are better. It's just all around for me an incredibly positive experience. The little negatives that I mentioned, the positives far outweigh those negatives for me, but for some people they may not, so that's something you might want to keep in mind. Someone said, my sister's friend got one stuck up in there. I could see that happening, again, depending on the shape of your vagina, really, when it's up there. If you have a really high cervix or a low cervix, all of those things really are factors that you don't really probably know about until you try one of these, because a tampon just kind of does it. But this is just a little bit of a different learning curve, and it really is a learning curve. I thought after the first month, I was like, I'm not gonna be able to get it. I got it. It's not a problem. But if it gets really far up in there, this little tail is really helpful for that. You can kind of guide it down as best you can, kind of guide it, little pulls. Don't do one big pull because again, the suction is a lot. One of the best tips that I can give you is to bear down. Now this, you'll know what it means. Push like you're trying to push out a poop, but you're not. You're trying to push out your cup. And that is one of the best things. If you panic, you're gonna tense up and it's gonna move up. Squat, the squatting position is fantastic for that. What goes in must come out. It will come out. It's not going to travel into your body. So just don't panic. Panic is the worst thing that you can do. It's going to come out. Bear down, reach up, break the seal, and pull. And you should always be able to get it out. I think panic is something that a lot of us, oh my God, I can't get it out. Oh my God. It's scary when you have something in there and you want it out. But I honestly would not panic because again, there's nowhere else it can go. It's not just a cavity that's flowing up into your stomach. Like there's a stopping point. I cut my nails short around period time. If you have big claws or nails or you enjoy having nails, it's probably not going to be a problem. But I found myself pinching the inside of my vagina skin and that is very painful. And so I would rather just cut my nails short and not have to worry about that. And you're reaching in or you're reaching to twist it or you're reaching in. Sometimes you could pinch that skin and it's only been a problem for me when I have nails. Can you sleep with it in? Absolutely. Again, change it right before bed, get everything clean and good to go. You can absolutely sleep with it in. There's never been any problems. I've never leaked during the night, no issues whatsoever. And that is not the case with tampons. When I would sleep with it in, first of all, I'd wake up halfway through the night usually to change it because I'm so weird about that. But also I would leak often with tampons. I would have way more leakage issues with those than I would ever have with a period cup. Never once have I had a problem with these, and I always had issues with especially pads. For me, I don't like pads because I don't like the feeling of constantly having fluid down there. I would feel the need to constantly go to the bathroom, and I don't like that at all. Somebody said, I just finished my 3rd cycle using the salt cup. I love it, but how do I know that it's properly suctioned? Sometimes I'll think it's suction and then I'll experience slight leaking. How far in should it be placed? And Salt replied and said, one way to test your seal is to give a gentle tug on the stem after you place your cup. If you feel resistance, your seal should be good. If it slides easily with a little pull, reposition or use another technique to improve your seal. They're very active on social media and they will answer your questions. They have great customer service. So if you do have questions, keep that in mind because they probably can answer them for you very, very easily and very, very nicely. I am a stripper and I have 2 job/period cup related questions. I obviously move around a lot. Do you think that this is leak proof enough for that? 100%. I believe so. I think that it's way more so than any other period product that I've at least ever tried. It'll contour with the shape of your body, but once it's sealed, that edge right there, like it'll move with whatever you need. So yes, absolutely. I usually wear long acrylics. Do you think I'd have a hard time getting the cup in and out? I don't think you'll have a hard time getting it in and out necessarily, because likely when you do have long nails, you adapt. You figure out how to work with those things. You can text with them on, you can do everything. But again, like I said, with the long nails, you can sometimes pinch the innards and it does not feel good. So just keep that in mind. Just be careful of that. And if you're more mindful of it, then you probably won't have a problem. And again, you are used to having long nails, so you'll probably be fine. This one says, since I also have PCOS, I suffer with extremely heavy flow, passing large clots quite often. How often do you have to empty and change it on heavy flow days? For me, I only change it once. You can certainly change it twice. If you have very, very heavy flow, you may have to change it more often. For me, I would call myself normal to heavy. I've never had to change it more than once every 12 hours, but if you do, you can change it twice a day, once every 6 hours or something, and I don't think that you're going to have a problem. But I don't know. I can't speak for everybody. All I can speak for is myself personally. I have a friend that has an extremely heavy flow and she is not a fan of period cups. She's like, they fill up too fast for me. So I think it might be worth giving a go, but it's maybe not for everyone, but I think it's still worth trying. This one says, I could never do it. As a woman, I know this is an unpopular opinion, but I really hate touching that area. I'm not an out of touch with my body type thing, more of a I hate bodily fluids thing. I love getting the info though, and I'm interested to see your opinion. I think you're right on. If you don't like bodily fluids, it's not for you. There are just some people out there that are really squeamish. For me, I've worked with animals for years. I worked in veterinary medicine. I also worked at a retirement home for years. I've seen everything. So nothing grosses me out anymore. That's, I think, why I'm so okay with it, because I've literally had my hands in things far grosser than that. But if you're not okay with it, that's not a bad thing. You're your own person, and don't let anybody make you feel bad for not wanting to try one. You're an independent thinker, and you don't have to try one if you don't want to try one. I'm only here for the people that do want to try one, but are really scared and have the same questions that I had. So I have the Salt Soft Cup, and my issue is that I always have issues getting it out. Is that normal? Am I doing it wrong? Or did you experience that at first too? Or am I just panicking and making it difficult? Salt also replied there and gave their tips and said that there's like cup gurus, they call them, that help you with removal options. I think a lot of times it is panic, and it's also awkward. If you're sitting on the toilet, it's almost like our natural way that humans should be pooping is like in the squatting position. That's why people use like squatty potty or whatever. But we sit on a toilet. It's not really the natural position, even when it comes to like birthing and things like that. At the end of the day, you're birthing a tiny little cup. And same with like going to the bathroom. Like, it's just not the most natural position to be sitting in that toilet position. So get down, get your hand up in there. Yes, you kind of got to reach up far, but the panic can always make it worse. So I would say just relax, bear down, reach up, suction, pull. You should be golden. Can you do it so wrong that you hurt yourself? Also, is it impossible not to get blood on your hands? And what if you leave it in too long? I don't know what happens if you leave it in too long. It's probably not good. Old blood sitting in your body for that length of time isn't good. Now, again, it is concealed in the cup, but if it overflows, then it overflows. I don't think that would happen, but if you forgot it and left it in for days and days, that's obviously not good. So do remember that you have it in. I think that's probably pretty rare that people do forget, but shit happens. So I don't know that you could insert it incorrectly to injure yourself. Maybe you could with the vagina bitch slap situation, but anything other than that, I'm not sure. I think that it wants to go in one way and one way only. More questions about how to change and clean it in a public restroom. I would say if you are going to change it and clean it in a public restroom because you're going to Disneyland or Disney World and you're there for 16 hours and oh my God, what do I do? What I would suggest in that situation, if you're going to use a period cup, maybe just use tampons if that's the case. But if you are going to go somewhere and you're worried about it, what you can do is you want to do everything in the stall. You don't want to be carrying this out and doing it at the public sinks. That's just not going to happen. So you'd want to remove it, which it can make noise. So just keep that in mind. Usually public restrooms are loud enough as is. Wait till somebody flushes and then remove it or something. Dump it out if you can. And you're going to want to have, I would say, an adequately sized water bottle. And you're going to need to rinse it out in the toilet. And what you're gonna wanna do is pour it in there, and the way that I get the sides of mine clean is I just rub it against itself. So it's all dumped out, and then I just kind of rub it against itself as I'm rinsing it. So rinse, rub, rinse, and dump, and then you should get most of it clean, and then you can reinsert it right there. I've never, again, had to change it in public, but if you did need to, that's what I would suggest. I would also have some wet wipes handy with you for your hands. Shit gets messy, and your legs, and anywhere, anything that happens, you're gonna wanna clean it up. It's definitely not nearly as simple as changing tampons. So if you're going to go somewhere like that, you may just want to use a disposable product if it really makes you nervous. But I think it's definitely can be done, but I haven't done it, so I cannot speak to that. How do you take it out and not get everything everywhere? You just be as careful as you can. Things get places. I've never had blood get anywhere other than in the toilet, on my hands, on the cup. Are they as icky as we all think they are? Again, depends on yourself. For some of us, yes. For some of us, no. I think that, again, the benefits far outweigh the cons for me. The suction, moving around a lot, sitting and standing, does it unseal and leak everywhere? Is it comfortable as a tampon? Would it be easy to clean in public? Can you sleep with it in? Is the material safe? How the fuck do you put it in and pull it out? I think I've answered most of those questions, but I was worried about, I think, things that ended up being kind of a non-issue. I was never that worried about cleaning it. I was never worried about any of that. I do find now, I used to dread my period when it was coming. It's the worst 4 days of my life. I don't dread it anymore. I don't dread my period. It's just another thing that happens, not a big deal. Getting this has eliminated all of my period dread, made my cramps go away. I still get cramps, but it does not make them worse by any stretch of the imagination. It has taken away my fear of TSS. It has taken away my irritation with the frequency of needing it changed. It has lined my pockets with all of that non-needing to buy tampons money. I just feel better about my choices as somebody who didn't feel that great about it. Environmentally, I go through a lot of tampons, and I am one person with a period. Imagine just the amount of people out there that get periods and use period products. It's a game changer. This could be such a game changer for the environment, but you don't need to feel guilty about that. If you do use tampons or pads, fine. It's not about that. It's about, for me, that was a really big factor in really wanting to switch, and that's just one fraction of how much I love this thing. I use Salt Soft, but there is a period cup that I believe Samantha has done a review on, and it's called the Flex Cup. And I believe there is like a little pull tab at the end, and when you pull it, it suctions out for you, so you don't have to reach up with your finger. If that sounds like it's more your style, maybe that's something you'd be more interested in. I personally use this one, and I have no issues with it, but maybe one day I would try that. For me now, this is definitely serving its purpose, and I don't feel like I need another one, but there are a lot of different types out there for you, and if the Flex Cup looks like it's more your speed, maybe give that one a try, because it does look pretty neat. This says, I don't have a question because I use them, but please mention the idea to lube the cup before inserting it for the sake of everyone's lady bits. I do think that is an option. I've never had to do that because, again, I heat mine up, like I put mine under the hot water, get it really warm, and then I feel like it softens it. I've never had that issue, especially because that time of the month and everything's kind of juicy down there anyway. Yeah, I think that is an option. You may want to look into that. I don't know, and I can't speak for it personally. I don't know if there's different kinds you can and can't use, because I do believe it's silicone, so you don't want to use a silicone lube, because if I understand correctly, silicone breaks down silicone. So you may want to look into which ones are safe to use. Definitely look into that. I've never personally done that, but I do know that people do use that. Someone says, what about sex? Does it work for that, or will there be a mess? I literally can't see how you could have sex with this in. Now, I think that people do, just can't see how that would be feasible, because I feel like that would poke right into the tip. Also, it would just be so, I can't fathom it. If anyone else has tried it, you let me know. I feel like it would break the suction. Blood would get everywhere. I just would rather die than have that happen to me. But somebody else, let me know. You let me know. For me, I'm just going to be straight up. There's nothing I'd rather do less when I'm on my period. I'm just going to be straight. It's just the last thing I want is anything else in there. If you don't like using / can't use tampons, is it a viable option? I guess I don't know. I don't know, because it depends on the specific reason that you can't or don't want to use tampons. I think so. I love it. I really do. I can't believe I'm saying that I love a menstrual cup, but I really do, and it's a game changer. So it could at least be worth trying, but the problem is that when people say that, that comes from a place of, why don't you try it? Yeah, but what if it doesn't work? Then you're out like $40. So that's something you have to keep into consideration, because it's not like you can return it. It's been up in your vagina. I don't know what the return policy is, but I can't imagine that they allow it. I don't know. Person says, what about clots? Do they hold those? I would fathom they do. I don't inspect my period that thoroughly, but yeah, I think so. Depending on the size, I suppose. Can you do shots with it later? Tequila later? Okay. How would it work if your period is more gooey than liquidy? See, these are the kind of questions I'm looking for. Also, my birth control makes my period stuff dry out towards the end of my cycle. Would I still wear it, and would it catch those bits? Yes. It's fine either way. I think you're fine all the way. I'm all those things and I don't have any issues. Is it worth it for spotting and light flow? For me, again, I don't wear it when I'm spotting because, I mean, you certainly could. But for me, once I get to the point where I've had it in for a few hours, I take it out and there's hardly anything in there. For me, it's just not worth it because I'd rather just not. So I just allow myself to kind of like go to the restroom as I need to, and I've never had any issues. Kristi, please let people know about the cup recommendation quiz. Here's a link for your description box. Fantastic. That's from Gigi Spill the Tea. I am going to put that in the description box for you guys so that you can have that information. So if you do have any questions on which one you should get, reference that in the description box. How long is the learning curve? For me, it took me on my 3rd cycle, I had it. 2nd, I was pretty good, but 3rd, I'm a pro now. I feel perfectly like I know what I'm doing, no issues at all. I feel like the 1st month I was like, I don't know, Sam. I like it, but I kind of hate it. And then by the 3rd month, I was like perfectly fine. 6 months in, I'm making videos about it. So one of the bigger questions that I'm noticing is a lot of people are worried that they're uncomfortable. And again, I already discussed this, but if they are in incorrectly, they can be very uncomfortable. To me, if it's in too low is when I notice an issue. And it's really only when I don't commit fully and go all the way up. If I get it in incorrectly, yeah, it can feel, you can just feel it. Hurt? No. Uncomfortable? Yes. It just feels like something is down there and you shouldn't feel anything. When I have it incorrectly, when I tell you I cannot feel it at all, I cannot feel it at all. You would never know it's up there. Nothing, just like regular day. When I have it in incorrectly, it feels like pokey and it's just uncomfortable. And that's when you know you need to go back to the bathroom, reposition. And generally what I do, again, is I bear down and push and I kind of like try to twist it up in and then I try to suck it back up into my body. This is so much information. Dad, if you're watching this, please stop. This isn't me trying to downplay anyone's heaviness with their flow or anything like that. But I think a misconception is that we have a lot more period blood than we actually do. Tampons look, they are saturated. It's cotton, it soaks everything up. But when you see it in the cup, you're like, 12 hours and this is it? Sometimes, and maybe some people can top it off, but for me, it's never been the case. Usually it's about down to here. It's gotten up to maybe here on my heaviest day, but it's never filled to the top even after 12 hours. So I got an ad where they say it's safe to use for clean period sex. Absolutely not. How? How? Literally how? I'll never know. Are we talking like full on soap and water cleanse every time? I have the hottest water ever in my water heater. And so I rinse the living shit out of it. Soap and water like after my period's over and I'm going to put it away for the month. And then before I'm going to put it in, I really rinse it super hot, get it perfectly clean and good. And you can also, I believe, boil them before your cycle. It just really depends on how worried you are about it. For me, my water is basically boiling hot that comes out of my water heater. So I just really rinse it under there for a good while and we're good to go. Period cups were such a life changer for me. I used to be completely incapable of functioning on my period. Bad cramps and heavy bleeding. Cups changed that. Now my flow is much less and I barely cramp at all. Dude, same. And I don't know why. It's still something up there, but it's just different. And I can't explain it in any other way than to say it just is different. Period cups hit different. Sometimes it's so difficult and pops open 20 minutes later. What are your easiest application tips? Kegels. Kegels, Kegels, Kegels. The vagina bitch slap is horrifying and I want to know if any of you have experienced it. Please have some sympathy with me, empathy. What do I need? Help. As far as TSS goes, or toxic shock syndrome, I was reading about it. I guess there are only 2 instances of people that have gotten toxic shock syndrome that I could find online, and they had left the cup in for 7 days without changing it. So just don't do that. The suction aspect makes it sound painful. Not painful in the slightest to remove it. Because once you remove the suction, it's just like pulling anything else out of your vagina. vagina. I know it may seem weird, but it would be awesome if you could address how they also may be not for everyone, even though you highly recommend them. I cannot tell you the amount of times I or others have been berated by cuppers saying we're using them wrong or haven't found the right one just because of how amazing they are for some people. It's just simply not true. There are those who can't use them due to frequent infections, pain, low cervix, prolapses, etc. People shouldn't feel bad or like they're using them wrong for not liking them. I completely agree. It is a fucking period cup at the end of the day. If you don't want to use one, don't use one. If you are intrigued and want to try one, here's a video that can maybe try to remove some of the stigma, or also maybe it'll show you that some of the things you've heard are true. Definitely don't think anyone should feel bad for not wanting to try one. We're individual people with individual preferences, and it is what it is. That's all. It's perfectly okay if you don't want to use one. But the number one question is really changing it in public. And I think I would like to really drive home how little you'll ever have to deal with that issue. And if, again, it will become an issue for you, you know you're going to be gone for 16 hours and you won't be able to go home or be somewhere private to change it. Maybe that day you shouldn't use one. Just bring the water bottle and wet wipes with you and give it a go in the stall. I can't stress enough how little you're likely going to come into this issue, because 12 hours is a very long time. If you have really long work day or really long work shifts or something like that, change it in the morning before you leave, maybe on your lunch break when you have a little bit of extra time. I think that could be fine if you're really worried about it, but likely, unless you're at work for more than 12 hours, you don't need to worry about it. Really try to remove that fear of having to change it in public. For me, it's never once ever been an issue. I just make sure that before I go anywhere that's going to be an extended period of time and I'm at home or I'm at my hotel or wherever I'm at, fresh, good to go right before you leave, and then you likely be totally fine for the length of time you're gone. I feel like I answered the majority of the ones that most people are asking. If you guys have any further questions, or if you feel like I didn't clarify something enough, or if you want to just tell me how gross I am in the comments, that's totally fine too. Let me know. I'll try to be in the comments as best I can answering your guys' questions on the topic. I know it's a lot, but I think that a big thing is that we need to remove the stigma around periods. They happen. They're a completely normal part of life for many of us. And if you get a period, why can't we talk about it? Why do we have to suffer in silence? I feel like it's such a weird thing. Periods are like this weird taboo topic that people don't want to talk about. And I've been part of that group where I feel like I can talk about anything. And then periods come up. I'm like, oh, because I'm like, period. Like, why? Why are we like that? I just feel like because it's blood or something. I don't know. It's just again, periods hit different. I mean, if you want to be modest and you don't want to speak about it, perfectly fine, but I'm not modest and I don't care. I'm perfectly fine to speak about it and answer any questions that you guys have. Yes, cups can be messy. Yes, they can be a little bit difficult at times. Yes, sometimes they bitch slap the inside of your vaginal walls, but they are worth all of that in my humble opinion. And I think that if you are interested in trying one, yes, there is a learning curve. Yes, there are going to be issues that pop up along the way, but like anything, like when you were young and you got your first period, to now, there was a learning curve then when you needed to learn how to use pads and learn how to use tampons. And many of us as adults are needing to relearn how to use a different period product. But for me, it has changed the game. I find that I don't dread my period anymore. I don't have nearly as many cramps. I don't have to plan my life around my period, which I felt that I needed to do. If I was going on a trip and I was about to start my period in the middle of the trip, I would dread it because I knew that it was going to ruin my trip. I was going to have to bring tampons. If I couldn't have them, I'm going to have to find out if I can buy them there. Am I going to be somewhere long enough that I'm going to have to change it? What if I leak? It has eliminated all of that for me. It's just a non-issue, and it's been so lovely not to have to worry about any of that anymore. So for me, 100%, even with all of the things I said in this video, I'd still 100% recommend, if you are interested, to definitely give one a try. I love Salt Soft. I think it's a great cup. I would like to try Flex. I think that seems really intriguing as well. If you guys have any further questions, please don't hesitate to leave them in the comments down below. I'm more than happy to answer them for you. No question is off limits. And I think I've answered most everything that anyone may know. You'll know what's right for your body because you know what feels right and you know what feels wrong. And you'll know when it's wrong. And if it's the wrong size, it's the wrong size. It's so hard to know, but make sure you look, because like for Salt, at least, it told me on the box, like, if you've never had children, then you want to go with a small. If you've had children, go with a medium or large or something like that. I can't remember. And again, I will have that link in the description of this video where you guys can check and see what size they recommend or what cup they recommend for you based on the quiz. So that might be helpful. Good luck. I hope you like it as much as I do. Please let me know if you have any questions at all. Please, there is nothing off limits. I'm more than happy to answer. And I thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you at my next video. Bye! period cup off. Oh, I hope I got all the questions answered. Vagina bitch. Cat hair? So today's video, but the thing is that each individual, there's cat hair all over my face. There's cat hair all over me. I was just snuggling a kitty. It does have, why? Why isn't it focusing? Hello? Oh my gosh, it's so dirty. This is covered in glitter. I gotta help this situation. Damn it. And you want it to fully be... I'm talking about period cups? Never cut me off when I'm talking again, you son of a bitch. There is cat hair fucking all over my face. Not to have to worry about...